And finally, the moment we've all been waiting for, at number 1, we have Love in the New Millennium by Can Xue, translated by Anneliese Finnegan-Wasmuwen, published in the original Chinese in 2013 and in English in 2018. This we're pairing up with the hands-down best soundtrack of all time for the perhaps most questionable movie of all time, Purple Rain by Prince, the absolute artistic pinnacle of 1984 and perhaps all of human history. Now, I'm going to assume that these works require little introduction, both because Purple Rain is Purple Rain, and because I've already reviewed and spoken at great length about my absolute adoration for Love in the New Millennium in a previous video, which I'll link somewhere in this general vicinity. Now, it may seem slightly trolling at first to compare what is undoubtedly an acquired taste, cutting-edge contemporary experimental fiction, read mostly by people like me, eggheads in their basements talking about books, into the unblinking eye of a camera, and claiming that it is somehow on par with, similar to, one of the most internationally beloved albums of the 1980s and beyond. But the thing that really sealed the bond between these two works in my mind was the unrelenting conviction in both of these works that sexuality can somehow function as a portal into the most fundamentally mysterious, deep, rich, and meaningful aspects of existence. Take, for example, the song Darling Nikki, which begins with a chance encounter in the hotel lobby with some tasteful public masturbation thrown in for good measure. Got a screaming orgasmic tryst in the middle, and the whole thing wraps up with Nikki's mysterious disappearance and a vaguely worded note inviting the protagonist to continue pursuing her on into eternity. As absurd and fantastical as that may sound, it could function as a perfectly serviceable synopsis of any number of dramatic encounters throughout Love in the New Millennium. Love, sexuality, the bonds that tie humanity together are traced endlessly backwards on a grand romantic quest for the overall meaning of human existence. History, as I mentioned in my previous video, is a major fixation for the characters in Love in the New Millennium, as it is for Prince in the song When Doves Cry, as he contemplates the sexual pairing that initiated his deeply troubled emotional existence. Maybe I'm just too demanding. Maybe I'm just like my father too, but maybe I just like my mother. She's never satisfied. Why do we scream at each other? This is what it sounds like when doves cry. Beep, boop, 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 doop, doop, boop. While it may seem strange that I have the least amount to say about the two works of art that I actually enjoyed the most, I prefer to think that my descriptive insufficiency here is more symptomatic of the fact that both of these works are just so unique, so emotionally and aesthetically intense. They just simply have to be experienced in order to be understood. Each of them comes out of an artist pursuing their own eccentricities with absolute conviction, knowing that they're not simply being strange for strangeness' sake, but because by diving headfirst into unknown artistic waters, they're going to be able to tap into something deeply spiritual and fundamental to human existence. Something that brings absolute joy even as it overwhelms you. And that at last is the end of my Frankensteined together favorite music / women in translation month something tag. Now I'm going to invite a few other booktubers to take up the torch and try to think of some creative connections between their favorite music and whatever other books they want to talk about. Certainly if you're watching this video and you've made it this far, you're absolutely welcome to take part. I'm just going to shout out a few people who have signaled in various ways in their content that they have a passion for music and that this might be a project that they'd be interested in pursuing. So for me, that'll be Sarah from Hardcover Hearts, Mark Nash from The Tome Raider, Michael from Knowledge Lost, Alex from Big Al Books, Conrad from 7 Days at Sea, Jason Harrigan from his self-titled channel, and Leo from A Little Book Life. Now I want to know what you think. Is it a worthwhile critical exercise to try and compare two art forms as distinctive as music and literature? What are some of your favorite musical references in books and vice versa? Do you have any thoughts or opinions on any of the books or albums that I've discussed today? If so, please share them in the comments below. You'll find links to my social media accounts in the show notes. If you've enjoyed this video, I hope that you'll like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, happy reading, weirdos.